We live in a world full of distractions and full of noise. Lately, I've been finding that in the midst of my busy life as a medical student, I've been getting distracted all of the time, and I find it hard to focus for more than 30 seconds at once. So what if we could learn how to concentrate and quiet our minds from the people who do this all day? Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. My name's Sanji, I'm a second year medical student studying at the University of Melbourne, and welcome to episode 1 of Book Club, where I talk about helpful things that I've learnt during reading. Now, my goal with this is to condense entire books into succinct lessons and goals that we can put into action today to help improve our lives. Today, we're going to talk about the 5 lessons that I've learnt from Think Like a Monk by Jay Shetty. Now, Jay's a guy who, after listening to a monk speak at his business school, decided to live for a few years in an ashram or a temple. And in his book, he talks about the simple lessons that he's learnt from the monks there and how we can apply these lessons to help find stillness in our busy lives. So without further ado, lesson 1 is let go. So in the ashram, Jay says that there were no mirrors, and this was to stop monks obsessing over their appearances. But if you're like me, you probably spend a lot of time in the morning choosing your clothes, doing your hair, and getting ready for the day. But the question is, do we really do this for ourselves, or do we do it because of the judgment of other people? Compared to the modern world, in the ashram, Jay was given a lot of space, silence, and stillness, and this allowed him to think about and find his own values and what was important to him. So while we can't move to an ashram, Jay says that when we give ourselves space and stillness, we can clear the dust and see ourselves, not through others' eyes, but from within. So therefore, there's 2 things that we need to do in order to find our true selves. So number 1, we can remove distractions. So there's often physical and mental triggers for distractions. So what I try to do is as they come, I write them down on a piece of paper so I can attend to them later. And number 2 is to ask yourself what qualities you admire in other people, because these are your true values. These are the values that you enjoy spending time around because you aspire to be like them and they honestly make you happy. For me, some of these values include purity of mind, service, integrity, and determination. Lesson 2 is detachment. Jay says that there's one main reason as to why people take action. And this is fear for losing one of our 3 core needs, which are peace, love, and understanding. We act out of the fear of losing peace, which is bad things happening. We act out of the fear of losing love, which is not being loved. And we act out of the fear of losing understanding, which is being disrespected. An example in Jay's book is of the Biosphere 2, which is a huge steel and glass enclosure in the middle of the Arizona desert, where we tried to grow a living forest with wildlife using clean air, purified water, and nutrient-rich soil. But for some reason, the trees would keep falling over once they reached a certain height. So this really baffled scientists at first, but then they realized that in nature, trees are continuously buffeted by the wind, and this causes them to grow stronger bark and develop deeper roots to protect themselves from falling over. Just like the trees, if we fear challenges and we stay in our own bubbles of comfort, we're not going to have the space to grow. It's okay to have fear because fear is how we grow. But the reason for so much noise in our head, as Jay puts it, is because we often have more fears than actual dangers. And as a result, we suffer more in imagination than we do in reality. If the reason for fear is attachment, then the cure is detachment. So whenever you're in this situation, take a step back, take a deep breath, and try to look at things objectively, rather than responding to the heat of the moment. Lesson number 3 is an audit of your companions. You are the average of the 5 people who you spend the most time around. So are you spending time with people who bring you up, make you happy, and fill you with positivity? Or are you spending time with people who do the opposite? We're wired to conform, so if all the people around us are seeing the negative, we will also see the negative because we'll join the fray and join this complaining culture. Regardless, it's impossible to get rid of all the negativity in our lives, but Jay outlined some tips that we can use to try to distance ourselves from some of this negativity. The first is the 25-75 principle. So for every 1 negative person there is in your life, make sure there's 3 people who uplift you. So be inspired and grow with them. The second is allocate time. If someone really drains your energy, make sure that you allocate a certain amount of time a month to spend with them and make sure you don't exceed it. And the third is don't be a savior. If someone needs an ear, of course, listen to them and comfort them, but don't try to solve all of the world's problems. The desire to help people is often driven by our own ego. So, for example, if we were an excellent swimmer, of course you would try to save someone drowning. But if you're only an average swimmer and you try to jump in, you might end up being pulled down alongside them. So in these situations, it might be a good idea to leave it to people who have those skills. Lesson 4 is audit yourself. Just like it's important to spend time around people who uplift you, you really want to make sure that you're uplifting other people as well. So an example from the book that I really love is that if you're sitting in a group of friends and you're just waiting for someone's story to finish so you can interject and interrupt with a story of your own just to one-up them, it just shows that you're not absorbing the essence of what's being said. Your ego is just getting ready to show off how clever and interesting you are. And I think all of us, including myself, are guilty of this in the past. So when we're having conversations with people, it's really important to consider, are we making these conversations 1% better? Or are we making them 1% worse? Are we trying to lift people up? Or are we just trying to satisfy our own egos? Jay says that if ego is the disease, then humility is the cure. When you receive a compliment, don't lap it up, but don't reject it either. Be gracious in the moment, and afterwards, when you have some time, take some time to actually thank the teachers who actually gave you the skills to get that compliment in the first place. And on the other hand, when you get an insult, make sure you take a step back, distance yourself from the situation, separate your ego from the heat of the moment, and then respond to the situation, not the insult. Jay says that it's really important to work towards humility and figure out how you can serve people using your Dharma. Now, Dharma is a Sanskrit word which roughly translates to your calling. And now you find your Dharma when your passions, your expertise, and usefulness for everyone actually align. For example, I want to serve by learning and growing and using this knowledge to actually help people who are dealing with similar issues. Just before the last and probably the most important lesson, the question of the day was, which lesson is the most important to you and why? Chuck it in the comments below, and if you've been getting value from this, please like and subscribe as well. Lesson 5 is gratitude. Helen Keller once said, "I cried because I had no shoes until I met a man who had no feet." Similarly, Jay had an experience in India when he was a kid. So his cab stopped at a traffic light, and when he looked out, he could see the legs of a girl dangling out of a trash can because she was most likely looking for something to eat. And when she stood up, Jay was shocked because he realized that she had no hands. She smiled at him, and all Jay could do was smile back, wishing that he could have done something more as a kid. And so afterwards, Jay and his family went to eat lunch at a restaurant, and while he was sitting down, he could hear a kid complaining that there was nothing he liked on the menu. Now Jay had this thought, well, this kid is complaining about the fact that he doesn't like anything on the menu, whereas this other girl only had a trash can as her menu. I think it's really important to be grateful for the small things in life. When we can become happy and content with the fact that we can breathe, when we have enough food to eat, and we have the comfort of having a roof above our heads, we'll become even happier when bigger things come our way. So a lesson from Jay is meal gratitude. 1 in 9 people don't have enough food to eat every single day, and that's nearly 800 million people worldwide. So we should take a moment to give thanks before we eat a meal so we can remain humble and thankful for what we have. We find our love for others in the small things. So if a family member is stressed, offer to listen to them. If a colleague at work is working on a busy project, maybe buy them lunch sometimes. The things that we do to help others spreads positivity, and these ripples of kindness can spread like wildfire. So given that the world is full of so much anxiety and distractions, why wouldn't we want to learn from the calm and peaceful monks? So I definitely think that this was a book that was worth my time, and if you want to give it a read, I'll chuck a link in the description below. So thanks again for checking out this video, smash like if you enjoyed it, subs if you loved it, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.